أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So we will continue our discussion on seeking refuge with God from Satan. And these we have been studying as interpretation of the verses. And say, O my sustainer, I seek refuge with you from the whisperings of the evil ones, and I seek refuge with you, my sustainer, lest they should come near me. This is our fourth session on this topic. We are reading from the flashes, the 13th flash. And we went through first, second, and third indications, and now we are going to the fourth indication, which should be on page 107. So we need a volunteer for reading fourth indication. Who wants to read? We have only 4 brothers here, including Ibrahim. So since sisters are more, if they would like to be representing. Okay. Sister Zareen is looking there. Okay, let's go with Sister Zareen. Sorry.
Assalamu alaikum. Fourth indication. Investigative scholars and the people of illumination have agreed that non-existence is pure evil and existence pure good. Yes, in the great majority of cases, good, virtues, and perfections are based on existence and are related to it. Even if they are superficially negative and hint of non-existence, their basis is in existence and pertains to it, while the basis and leaven of all ugliness, like misguidance, evil, calamities, and sins, is non-existence and denial. Their badness and ugliness arise from non-existence, even if they appear superficially to be positive and pertaining to existence. At basis, they are non-existence and denial. Also, observedly, the existence of something like a building is established through the existence of all its parts, while its destruction, or non-existence, and annihilation occurs through the non-being of one of its main parts. Furthermore, existence requires an existent cause. It is based on a cause which has an actual reality, whereas non-existence may be based on things which pertain to non-existence. Such things may be the cause of something non-existent. It is as a consequence of this rule that despite the awesome destruction in the universe of devils from among jinn and men, and the varieties of unbelief, misguidance, evil, and destruction they perpetrate, just as they do not interfere one iota in creation, so too they can have no share in divine sovereignty. And they do not carry out those works through any power or ability, rather than power and action in many of the things they do. It is neglect and abstaining from action. They commit evils through not allowing good to be done. That is, they become evil. For since bad and evil are a sort of destruction, their causes do not have to be an existent power and active creativity. Rather, vast destruction comes about through one command pertaining to non-existence and one condition being spoilt. It is because the Zoroastrians did not develop this mystery that they believed that there was a creator of good in the universe called Yazdan and a creator of evil called Ahriman. However, the imaginary god of evil they called Ahriman was Satan, who causes evil through the power of choice and the power to act, which possess no ability to create. And so, O people of belief, your most effective weapon and equipment for repairs in the face of this awesome destruction of Satan is seeking forgiveness from God, and through saying, I seek refuge with God, to have recourse to him. And your stronghold is the practices of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Jazakallah khairan. So, for this topic, let's see how is this relevant to us? Like what's being mentioned in here might sound a little too technical, but why is the author talking about this? How is this relevant? What is he saying? What is he doing with what he just stated? He was mentioning about evil and saying that evil pertains to non-existence, but good pertains to existence. Like this is, maybe in a nutshell, this is the major statement that he is making here. But what is that? What's its relevance? Like, what is this statement answering in our questions, maybe? Yes.
So maybe it's trying to maybe address like how we think of good and evil. So I guess for me, I tend to think of like good and evil in terms of actions that are made. So if I do something good, there's an outcome or that brings me some sort of like positive emotion, like happiness, joy, or some benefit. And if something is like evil, I take it to be like an action either I do or someone else does that brings about like a harm or something that brings about like this negative outcome. But I often hear like something tends to be evil if it's like harming others. So maybe this is like about maybe reframing that perception of good and evil, and that might be something important because I feel like a lot of actions and like the way we think is like framed around how we might perceive good and evil.
Okay. So he's making a very bold statement saying, like, let me reread it. Brother Birkan would be angry with me because I'm rereading too much. But since he is not here, I guess it's okay. As long as you don't tell him once he comes back. So the basis and leaven of all ugliness, such as misguidance, evil, calamities, and sins, is non-existence and denial. Basis of ugliness, and by ugliness he means misguidance, evil, calamities, and sins. Their basis is non-existence and denial. That is I guess, a sentence that we need to unpack. Their badness and ugliness arise from non-existence, even if they appear superficially to be positive and pertaining to existence. Essentially, they are non-existence and denial. What does that mean? What does this practically mean? And this distinction will eventually help us, but why is he making this critical statement? I mean, he gave an example at the end with Zoroastrians and whatnot, but nobody here is Zoroastrian, and I guess they're just a fraction of world population. So what's the point of refuting Zoroastrians? Probably it might be that we still have bits and pieces of this Zoroastrian thought in us, I would suspect from this. This is why he's raising the topic. But before we come there, why is he making such a statement that ugliness, and I specifically, I would like to maybe start from misguidance. How is misguidance based on non-existence? And why is that relevant to us? Misguidance based on non-existence. Yes.
I kind of understand it a bit better. When we say non-existence, we're referring to like the absence of something like
Yeah.
So in this case, isn't it, we're essentially saying like misguidance is not something that exists kind of independent of guidance. And like whenever there's no guidance, as a result, the non-existence of that itself is like the default would be
It might be like this, but the way I was thinking more about it is in the sense of like, let's take again Quranic example. Satan's misguidance was based on a lie. Like he said, if you eat from the tree, you will become eternal. It looks like it's an existing statement, which it is. Like somebody is saying that if you eat from the tree, you will become eternal, right? Or as I was giving the example of the perfume Sauvage. If you have been to JFK, they have an advertisement with, what was the guy's name? Johnny Depp. Have you seen that advertisement? Like JFK Terminal 1. For years, it is the same ad. So Johnny Depp is just taking his guitar and just hitting it, and then the perfume Sauvage, well, apparently. So it feels like if you use this perfume, you're going to be as cool as Johnny Depp. So that's a statement, like, and it keeps the same ad keeps running there for years wherever I go to JFK Terminal 1. But the basis of it is non-existence. Like, it doesn't make you cool. It doesn't have any truth in it. It's a denial, like it's a lie. It's a baseless claim. But it's therefore manipulating human feelings to make you think you will be good, you will be up in the clouds if you pay us $100 to buy this much of perfume. It doesn't have any truth. So its basis is lie, non-existence. There's no truth to it. But of course, on the surface, there's an ad that plays there. So this is why I think author is saying its basis is non-existence and denial. Even if it superficially seems to be existent, if you pay attention, its roots are non-existence or denial. Like non-existence in this sense, we can read it as a lie. It doesn't have any truth. Does this make a little bit of a sense? Like in terms of example with Johnny Depp, let's stay there. Like even a loser guy buys the perfume. The promise of the ad is that no matter who you are, you get it, you become Johnny Depp. You don't, right? So it's a lie. It's a baseless thingy. But this is a statement out there. Author's suggestion is that all misguidance, all ugliness is stemming from this non-existence, no matter how much it appears to be a constructive statement or an existence-based thing. And now I'm about to touch some nerves. What else out there which seems to be existent, yet its basis is denial or non-existence? We have so many scientists in the room. Yes, one of the scientists raised hand.
Guess I'll take one for the team. But yeah, I guess maybe concepts like survival of the fittest, for example, may appear to be like an explanation for all these like positive traits that appear in people or like different organisms, like then it'll also serves as like an explanation, oh, like this is why I don't know, people who don't have such and such traits, like or maybe not people, let's just stick to like organisms, but organisms that don't have this trait don't make it. Ones that do survive. And so that becomes like applied to maybe to people in a sense. I guess that belief gets permeated into like how societies work as a whole. But like other things could be like, I guess we were talking last week about concepts such as like environmentalism, like humanism, things that like, one should think like we should care about our environment. We should care whether other people are living or not. So things like that, maybe if you say them flat out, they don't seem like something that would be pure evil or like non-existence or misguidance.
So today, I was having a conversation with a brother. So like he was worried about religion in certain sense, and I was trying to bring the topic to something that's really worthy to be concerned in terms of priorities. Like what he was worried about, of course, worthy to be concerned at a certain point, but maybe not at the moment for him. So I was asking him the question about how does it rain? And then I asked, how does a plant flourish? Just trying to explain my point. I guess this was the simplest example. I said, let's make a simple experiment. There's this seed. So I put two seeds. For one of them, I pour water. The other one, I don't pour water. And then the one that I poured water comes out as a plant. The other one doesn't come out as a plant. So does water has a share in here? Like he was a religious brother. He said, initially he was saying God does it. So I just tried to make the example clear for him. And he said, I mean, of course, water has a share, but who created the water? Like this was his statement. So apparently there's a existing statement here saying that because when water was not there, plant didn't come out. So definitely water should have something to do with making the plant. Like this was his reasoning. But is this an existential statement or a non-existent or denial-based statement? Because this is how our explanations work. Yeah.
I guess like I was thinking of an example where that feels like it does exist. So like we often make a very broad statement of like smoking causes lung cancer. And then they ask us like, how do you know this? And we're like, well, this is what we observed after doing this amount of whatever research, and this is what we're seeing. So then we start associating smoking and lung cancer. So that feels like something that is tangible. We can understand it. We are observing it, and it feels like it exists. But then if we, I guess, go back to more of how we are trying to, at least how I'm trying to reframe my thought process, then it's kind of going back to, okay, yes, a person is choosing to smoke, but then there is obviously the choice you're making, but also ultimately what is leading to that choice being like the manifestation of that choice actually occurring. Because we do also know that many people do smoke and don't get any of this thing at the same time. And we say, well, like your chances increase. And I feel like isn't to some degree that kind of language implying that like it's simply not opportunity. There's something at play there, but it's quite hard to decipher. But this is all I'm observing. So I'm just going to say this is associated with this. So that's why it feels very existent.
Yeah. So the statement sounds existence-based. This is why the author is saying, even if they appear superficially to be positive and pertaining to existence, essentially, on their basis, if you unpack what is being said, they are non-existence and denial. So this is what now we are trying to figure out. Are they really non-existent? Is such a statement, because it looks like there are tons of books in the libraries. This is all based on studying the universe. People put a lot of efforts. They sort of unpacked or deciphered the mechanism of how the world is working. And what is the common message out of all these? It is that like things happen by themselves or by the laws or this and that. So do we agree with author's statement in this regard? Let's try to discuss this. Can we agree with author in this regard that really the basis of all misguidance is really non-existence, even if it is an entire book like this? What was it? What was Darwin's famous book? Something of Species. Origin of Species. Like the guy really put a lot of effort. He has written an entire book. He like wandered around the world, made observations, and has written a huge volume. So is this not an existing statement? Like he didn't sit on his chair and said that, oh, God created everything, don't worry about it. He put an effort, a genuine effort. Like he didn't cook it up from his chair either. Like he really put effort. But the author's claim is all misguidance is, and I'm calling it as misguidance because according to him, the origin of a species and other species, like X makes Y. Unlike God makes everything, or whatever makes X is the maker of Y. It's not that X makes Y. This is why I am calling it as a misguidance. But what's wrong, or what is non-existing, saying that X makes Y, or human came from, I guess, the most famous monkey. What's wrong with this? What is non-existing in here? Do you agree with that or no? And this is important because last week, Sister Aisha was making a comment. This was to the end of the discussion, I believe. You were saying that I become emotional, or like, is my faith so weak? Why shall I be worried? Or something along these lines, as much as I remember. So non-existence is there. So many claims can come up, which does not need to have any basis, so you can cook them up. And on the other hand, the things about belief, you're really putting things on top of each other to explain an existing phenomena. So this is why doing one is harder than the other, because you really need to, like, if you really need to explain a real phenomena, you need to properly describe it. But if you're going to cook up something, you can cook up any aspect of it. But this is why one is easier to generate than the other. But there's also a flip side. One is easier to refute, which is the denial. But the truth is harder to refute as well because it is solid. But this, where do we stand? Like, because today when I was discussing with this brother, as a reflex, he said, oh yeah, I'm also reading books which talk about scientific miracles of Quran. That means I still feel like science is talking about solid truth, unquestionable solid truth. I don't see the scientific language, for example, as based on non-existence or as a misguidance. So if I find something that, oh, Quran talked about this 14 centuries ago already, so win-win, Quran is the best, then I feel good about it. But what's going on? Yeah, I think I asked too many questions to make people more puzzled than our answers can satisfy. Yes.
I didn't really catch what does based on denial mean. Like, I understand what based on non-existence is, that it's a baseless claim, but what about denial? What is that?
Yeah, the question is, what is based on denial mean? Yeah. Based on non-existence, we understood with the example. How about based on denial? I can give a practical example to this. Like in Gaza, no, I mean, there's nothing wrong going on there. What do they call it? Genocide deniers. Like something is happening, but you just talk about totally irrelevant topics to pretend as if nothing is going on. When it comes to, let's say, I'm going to again go with our easy examples. As we were talking with the student today, how does rain come? In terms of how rain comes, I talk about the mechanism of how the events happen. I say water in the heat evaporates, goes up, wind comes and pushes it from ocean all the way to Philadelphia. And then over Philadelphia, it hits some cold air, and then water comes down as rain, and animals are fed and whatnot, right? This is similar to bombs were shipped from the US, went to some country somewhere, and then they were taken by the planes, and in the air, they were dropped down. That's it. Like, that's the explanation. So, well, bombs falling down and killing 50,000 people, like there's something going on in here. Well, this is the nature of the bomb, it just falls, it's gravity. And once it drops down, yeah, whatever is there, I mean, there happen to be some humans, and then naturally they are selected out. Like when it comes to rain, this is our explanation. Rain comes, and since living beings were here, we flourished in life. If rain were to drop elsewhere, then we wouldn't be flourishing in here, that's it. We don't say that to feed with water requires somebody knowing me today, somebody caring about me today, somebody who knows me and is capable to lift water all the way from ocean to Philadelphia is bringing this rain. Which portion of this mechanism that I explained talks about or covers that? I'm simply denying, ignoring that mercy, power, wisdom, knowledge is required for this act of rain coming to your home, rain coming to your garden, right? That's denial. But this is something that we have been studying since primary school. What's it called? Water cycle. There's the mechanism of how rain comes, right? It's totally based on a denial. You're really missing the most important thing. Like, how come this happens? Oh yeah, first water comes up because of evaporation. How? I'm not even asking why, but how come this is happening? And the example is like maybe Ibrahim is too small, but Ali in the middle of night just says, he uses bad Turkish for this. He says, I water. Like, still, he didn't fix that language. I water, meaning I want water. In the middle of night, two words, I water, ben su. So this is what he says. I wake up from my bed in the middle of night, 2 a.m., come to kitchen, get water, take it to Ali. And he drinks. And then he explains this by saying, imagine he goes to school and says, I have a very strong voice. Whenever I say, I water, even if it is 2 a.m., water comes to my foot. He's correct, water comes to his foot, but what is he doing? He's denying what is involved in there, which is mercy is involved in there, a will involved in there, somebody who has power walks all the way down, takes the water. So it's a non-existing statement, or it's a statement which is based on non-existence and denial. So misguidance. In our lives, there are such statements, or how much are we affected by those statements? I think this is an important part for us to focus on, because we are so much intimidated by scientific explanation, because it sounds very positive. It's even called positive sciences, like it proves. It's not cooking up anything. It's just explaining things based on experiments, right? But it sounds very much like New York Times language, actually, if we pay attention to. Depending on who is doing the crime, the language totally changes, right? So when scientific language, in the name of neutrality or objectivity, which New York Times also claims the same, right? New York Times is speaking from a neutral point of view when they report events. How neutral they are, you know it. So this is why when we talk about misguidance, although it might appear to be positive or existence-based, essentially on its basis, we need to ask very fundamental questions that Ibrahim alayhi salam was asking from the idols. Can you eat? Can you drink? These were the questions which Ibrahim alayhi salam was asking rhetorically to the idols. Because if you are really feeding me, you yourself is not able to help yourself. This is what he's trying to say. Like there were idols, and I am being maintained, but my maintainer apparently is you, the idols. But the idols themselves are not able to even benefit themselves. They cannot feed themselves. Now, when it comes to your height, like what's your height? 6'10" or something? What is it? I don't know the numbers. 6'8". Okay.
Oh no.
So what feeds this? They would say, oh, this is because of such and such gene. Like this is the creator of your height, right? Because they would say, well, we made a statistical analysis of people at 6'8", and we all observed this gene over there. So this is really, whenever this gene was not there, people were shorter. Whenever it was there, people were taller. So this gene makes it. Like this is the explanation. Whenever I don't say I water, no water is there. When I say I water, water is there. Therefore, I water is the maker of or the bringer of water. Like same language, same statement. Does it have any truth? It seems to be like they do some math. They do some statistical analysis. It's not that they are cooking it up, but you say, okay, but does this really mean anything? Okay, you made a statement, sure. Satan made a statement too. Satan said, if you eat from this tree, you will become eternal. Like words are there, they do exist, but no content, no meaning in there other than misguidance or lie or non-existence or denial. Does this make sense? There seems to be something being cooking there. No? Okay. So why does he bring the matter to why does he bring it to creation of evil? He said, all good pertains to existence, or evil pertains to non-existence. This was the basic premise that he made. Then he brings the conversation to, at the very end, after he builds up the argument, he says, since this concept of no creation is involved in terms of evil, pretty much. This is the most, I guess, relevant part of this conversation for us. This is the practical outcome. Evil do exist, isn't it? Because evil is based on non-existence. This is what he is saying. Like, it's a little bit awkward of a conversation that's going on here. What does this mean? Yes.
All right. There's just a question to clarify. Is he in this trying to redefine what evil is? Like whether evil is created, or like what we think of evil is being created or not, like, you know, when we make dua, we seek refuge from the evil that Allah created, Or is he saying, okay, like what has been created is based in truth because it's been created by Allah, but whatever else is not truth and disconnected from existence is evil, because the evil is found in like denial of truth and what is like disconnected from the truth. Is that the idea that is being
Right. And that's a very good question. So where does evil exist? Let's then put it as such. Because here he is saying that evil is based on non-existence. Again, let's use the toy example of Satan. When Satan said, if you eat from the tree, you will become eternal. That statement itself was an evil statement because it doesn't have any truth. The statement itself exists, sure, but it doesn't have any truth in it. Like as a word, as a sentence, as the sound waves in the air, it exists. But in and of itself, it doesn't have any reality that matches it. Okay. So what does that mean? Since the author is talking about evil simply being either denial or non-existence, in the previous part, he was talking about giving examples for something like more practical examples, actually. The third one, he's refining the discussion now that we are at the fourth. But at the third, he was mentioning that as an example, relatively speaking, in contrast to making a human being, chopping off a hand is more similar to like destruction, evil. It's more non-existence. Like you're not trying to put anything together. You're just pulling apart, like tearing apart. You're killing. Like relatively speaking, we understand what that looks like. But in practice, all evil being non-existence, what does this mean? And when it comes to, let's say, a child being killed is an evil. And we gave this example before, I guess, in those discussions. A child being murdered is an evil. And it's an existing thing, like the child is killed. So what does it mean to say that it's based on non-existence? So denial, and now I'm going to use denial as in a secondary meaning. Child being like surviving, like this, look at this beautiful baby over there. So don't mess up with the child. Convey the mercy. This is the existential message that comes there. Convey the mercy, take care of this child beautifully. This is the existing thing, existing attitude that needs to be taken. But if I deny this message, if I refuse this message and say that, no, I'm not going to demonstrate mercy. I'm not going to do what it takes to properly demonstrate mercy towards this child. This is the non-existential attitude. I'm saying that, no, I'm refusing. I'm refusing to comply with treating this child mercifully. But this refusal itself is the non-existence. I am choosing not to go with, I'm going to use a metaphor. I'm choosing not to be a mirror of mercy of the Creator. I'm saying that, no, I don't accept it. I don't want to be merciful. In and of itself, this attitude is simply refusal. In previous week's example, we were giving the example of either a student not studying for an exam, because studying for an exam is putting an extra effort, but not studying for an exam or not listening to the class doesn't really require any effort. You simply close yourself up. The teacher is explaining stuff in there, you close your ears. It's non-existence based. Like you just ignore. And consequences of this are being created separately though. Like if you don't study, failure is being created for you by teacher puts an exam before you, You cannot answer any of them. And then the consequence of this failure is created you with an F. The creator, the teacher in this example gives you an F. It's an existent result. Likewise, I refuse to reflect mercy to the child. Death is created for the child. It's an existing outcome. It again is created. But from my point of view, I didn't create death either. This is why author is making this distinction. Evil is a choice. And with this choice, you simply ignore doing or putting effort or accepting, in a sense. But the outcome of your evil choices or wrong choices are separately being created. Since Zoroastrians didn't understand this, he says, and they wanted to glorify God, they said, oh, there's this creator of good and the creator of evil. Fast forward, when it comes to Islamic history, there's a group which said God creates good, human creates evil. Again, it was the same. It was coming from the same motivation to glorify God. But they said, okay, there are evils though. So human is the creator of their evil acts. This was the conclusion. This is a theological debate aspect of it. Maybe we even didn't hear about it. But practically, we might be living in this line of thought. Let's reconsider. Let's reconcile, because I think it's getting a little deeper at this point. And it's also getting warm and people are starting to sleep. Okay, let's talk about this again. What do you think? Creation of evil. What is evil about creation of evil? Okay, go ahead.
I don't think I'm saying anything that's not been said, but if God is the creator of everything, then he would be the creator of what is considered evil also, even though we are the one that bring it by choosing to do whatever is going to cause that creation. But I have seen a lot of people that ask this question online, like, oh, if there is a God, why is there so much evil? And then the answer that is usually brought forward is the answer that you said, that, well, we create, or not we create evil, but like, because we have free will, we can choose to do evil. So therefore, I don't know, it's not really speaking of creation, really. I don't know where I'm going with this. Yeah, I kind of lost.
I mean, that's a question. Let's try to unpack it, because that's not an easy topic. Author is making a fundamental explanation for this topic. I mean, that explanation in here is really important and really relevant.
Question. Is the question what's evil about the creation of evil? I don't know how to answer the question. I was writing it down, but that doesn't sound right.
Okay. So evil happens out there, right? And what makes this? Where does this evil come from? Even to the point of, like, last week's question was, why did God create Satan then? Like, many such questions come, right? In different flavors. Or as the famous atheist question would have been, if there's a merciful God, why are there children who are being murdered? Like, this is another such famous internet level question, right? But in here, author is talking about evil is based on non-existence. Good is all based on existence. Which should then mean, like, if the author is making a solid statement, if he's right, that means whatever exists is good. Yes, and we can give microphone there.
I guess if evil is based on non-existence, that means like if we go back to the example of evil is created, but the choice of like when you choose, I guess, evil, it's leading back to the fact that like it's a non-existent statement that's forcing you to, it's like the claiming of there is no God. It's a non-existent statement, therefore you commit evil. Or like many other like science, the fact that like my job is gone, I guess. But when we make any claim about whatever we're observing, if we go back to the statement of evil is based on non-existence, then I make this claim, and that itself is what's evil. It's that claim that I'm making, because ultimately I do have that choice to make it or to not make that claim.
Mhm.
So I guess maybe that's where I'm seeing the statement of evil is based on non-existence makes sense.
Yeah. So then really this discussion is pointing the finger to what is evil, pretty much. Because we, like, a child being murdered is evil. Any question? Any argument about this? A child, innocent child being murdered is evil. But the author, which is an existing event, but the claim in here is anything that exists or anything that's good is based on existence, and you can read it from reverse as well. Anything that exists is good in this regard, and anything that is evil is based on non-existence. Child is murdered, though. What is good about it? It's existing. So the point of tying it to existence, which existence are we talking about, right? Because some existence which is bound to just go into nothing in and of itself will be evil. What I mean by that is, if you were to, let's talk about it, if you were to make the most rich person for 10 minutes, okay? 10 minutes, whatever you command, whatever you like, food, best car and whatnot, I'm going to give it to you for the next hour, whatever on earth. But at the end of this 1 hour, I'm going to just kill you. Would you be okay with this? Like, is this hour's happiness would be happy for you? Or would it be like every moment of it is taking you to like your eye will be on the watch, 59 minutes left, 58 minutes left. Like, you wouldn't even enjoy this 1 hour itself because it's going to be taken away from you in a matter of minutes, especially you come to the last 5 minutes. Forget about enjoying anything. You will be freaking out within this 5 minutes and whatnot. In and of itself, that existence itself is practically not there, really. It's just an evaporating moment which leaves you in terror. So what sort of an existence are we talking here? Sister Aisha, no comments? Okay. So how does with this child being murdered, that act is being created, a dead child. Death is being created. Death is not simply non-existence of something. Okay, there's not life, but there's something new that's happening in there. So there's new creation happening. What is good in this regard? So mercy, somebody refused to reflect mercy. This was the non-existing act that was done in there. But as a consequence of this act, certain things are created, given existence. It's a separate story. But the act itself, the evil thing is refusing mercy. This is evil. And there's nothing existing in there. It is lack of existence. Somebody refused to comply with. Somebody said, no, there's no mercy. I deny a merciful God. This is the act, what's happening really. This is evil. But as an outcome of this evil, the Creator says, okay, I'm going to show you how bad of an act this is by creating some outcomes so that I'm going to give positive messages to you and to others. Like you can say, let's make the example a little simpler. You can say, your creator says, don't eat candies as a child for healthy life, for wisdom. Let's say now, wisdom requires that you don't eat this much candies. The child says, no, I don't care about wisdom. There's no wisdom whatsoever. It's all joy. I will eat candies. This is a denial because I am denying the wisdom. The says, okay, this is an evil act because you denied wisdom, but I'm going to create the outcome of it as a rotten tooth with a lot of pain, which is existing. Like you don't deny the pain, right? You're really going through the pain. So it's an existing thing created again, but for a good reason, so that you realize that what you denied was wrong. You shouldn't have done this in the first place. So the evil is your denial. Toothache is not evil. As long as you attribute toothache to the wise one who is giving you a lesson about your bad choice. This is the key point here. It says, since this distinction was not clear, now I'm going back to the part that he mentions Zoroastrians. So I'm finished. So he says, since they didn't see this, and they said, no, toothache is pure evil in and of itself. Healthy teeth is good. Rotten teeth is bad. Since they made such a distinction, then they have to explain the existence. How did this came into being then? Or there is a creator of evil, one God, creator of good, another God. And actually, was it 2 weeks ago, somebody was mentioning yin yang or something? There's no separate things. The author is saying denial is evil and it's existing on you as making wrong choices, but whatever exists is good because it's coming from the creator and it's all for giving a message. This is the distinction. Yes.
So if we take the mercy example towards the child, like ideally the person not reflecting the mercy should have the bad thing happen. Like they're not getting the toothache, it's the actual child that's dying. So like that doesn't make sense to me then. With the tooth example, yes, like you did something wrong, you did something evil, and as a consequence something happened that was supposed to be, let's say, a message. But here, like if you keep on killing the child and you're closing your eyes to the message, you're not seeing the message because it's not happening to you, the child is dying. Like how do you reconcile that then?
Then will come the question of what's the message and purpose of life, because what's happening in this case is the person is feeling ill towards somebody else, and from our point of view, that's an evil act. Like I am really feeling bad for you, and that's an evil thing. Either I'm trying to kill you, or let's go with a simpler example, I'm trying to harm you. Let's go with a simpler example. And then you are being apparently affected because of my evil choice. When it comes to me trying to harm you, it's evil from my point of view. But the harm is created on you. So where is goodness in here? The creator of this harmful act, whomever gives you, let's say I'm trying to punch you, and then the purple face is now being created in you. The creator of this purple face is the creator of your body, my body, the entire society, and everybody, and the universe. So as much as I observe wisdom in this universe, I then say that, because like moving of a single particle, let me take you there very temporarily. Like single particle moving is tied to how moon is rotating around the earth, isn't it? Like how interconnected the universe is, right? Moon is turning around earth, earth is turning around sun. The whole existence is so much interconnected. So the one who is really rotating electron around the the nucleus is the one who is rotating moon around the earth. That wise one is now creating this purple face on you. Then I would say, okay, from Yusuf's point of view, he was just willing to harm me. But how about the creator who created this harm on me? What is his message to me? So from this all-wise point of view, it's a separate question then. If you see the punch coming from me, if you just take it as Yusuf punched me, you won't see any wisdom in there because Yusuf was just trying to harm me. That's it. That's pure evil in this regard. But if you say that, but the creator of heavens and earth created this punch in my face, what was he willing in this? Because Yusuf didn't create the punch in your face. Yusuf chose to punch you, but creation of punch came from the creator. What was his message to me? Then you will start seeing the wisdom in there, or then you can start seeing wisdom in there. Same with the child that's being murdered. Like, people do die here or there. Eventually, everybody in this room is going to die. Bad news, right? Isn't it evil? No, it's not. Like, as much as we are born, there's a point that we are supposed to learn in this life. Death is going to be part of this journey, and probably everybody is going to die at a different point in their lives here in this room. Would I say, why did I live 40 years and Ahmed lived 50 years? Where is the wisdom, where is the mercy in here? We won't generally say this, right? Once we see it at a concrete event of a child passing and whatnot. So yes, the murderer willed ill towards the child. That was evil. But what was Creator's message to the child, to the parents, to everybody watching around them? Because the owner of the child, the Creator, said, okay, for the child, I'm going to retire you from this life. You lived this, and I'm taking you from this life to my eternal abode. Your duty is done in here. Pretty much like in a movie. Some actors are playing from beginning to the end. Some of them are playing 5 minutes. Some of them are in the movie for 3 minutes. In this life, everybody has different duration in this movie, to the extent that we are meant to take whatever we are, and then we are being taken away from the movie. So the child is going to be taken away from the movie, and also without afterlife, we cannot explain this at all. So the Creator says, I am taking you from this abode to my eternal abode. You did your share, good, you're done. Let me take you to the waiting room, and then after the second episode starts, you will be living a comfortable life in there as a result of what you have done in here. So this is why if we combine these, then we do see beauty in the what is apparently evil. Does this make sense or no? So this is why creation of what is considered or apparent to be evil is not evil. The event itself is evil relative to the one who perpetrates it, because the choice was evil. But it's being given existence relative to its creator, it's not evil. So there's no evil in the existence in this sense if we refer it to the creator. But if I refer it to the one who perpetrates it, it's pure evil, because the guy was purely willing to harm me from their limited perspective. But the creator is willing many more things from this single act. It has a face that looks to Ahmed, that looks to William, that looks to everybody else. I was just aiming to harm. But us as humans mean one or two things in our actions. We are talking about the act of all-knowing, all-wise, which means there's an aspect of that event to everybody else in the room as well. If we go back to Islamic history, although author is now mentioning Zoroastrians, in Islamic history, how this happened, like the early periods after caliphate, like first 4 caliphs, rulers were like the nationalism took over and misbehaving people who are not supportive of their regime. And then they said, like, this is the will of God. Like, I'm just, like, you're meant to be tortured, pretty much. The king was torturing them. And then they said, well, you're meant to, it's qadar of Allah. Like, we don't have any choice. We were meant to be as such. Or even Arab nationalism came to a point that they were saying, this was happening in the Umayyads, their fathers were, like forefathers were the ones that were killed in the battle by the Prophet as disbelievers. But now the national pride is there. So would they want to curse their forefathers? Or would they say, well, it's qadar of Allah, they were meant to be deniers. Actually, they wouldn't be, but it's qadar of Allah. Like, this was such an attitude. And as a response to this attitude, people developed this reaction saying that, okay, you guys are strong and you guys are hammering us and you're accusing God for this. No, you are creator of your evil acts. This was the opposing ideology that was developed back then. They said people do create their evil acts. Zoroastrians were attributing it to Satan, or no, not Satan, but a creator of evil, a different God. But in Islamic history, it developed such that they said, no, human is the creator of their evil acts. Now, author is clarifying this in here, is saying that evil is the choice that you make, and its basis is non-existence. It's a stand that you take. You are responsible for this, but there is no existing outcome that you create with it. The creator creates outcomes of it, but it was not what you were intending. Yes.
It's funny. We were discussing something similar today, not like religious, more political, but like you said that if you attribute something, like if something is created by God, it can never be evil. But it's only evil when it's like it's a decision taken by a human being to do evil. So that's evil. So evil can only be attributed to that human, but whatever like the outcome is created by God is not evil. But then people who like see like these atrocities happening in Gaza or anywhere else in the world, they would still say that, you know, if there were a God, he won't allow such things to happen. And it can mean that it's not like God is creating this, but it can mean that God is capable of stopping this, but he's choosing to just, you know, stand there and watch it. So like, you know, they say like evil, like you consider evil the people who do evil and people who see evil being done and do nothing about it. So I can say that but you know, I can say that God is like can see the harm, can see the pain, and he's still not doing anything about it. And if he's as great as we're talking about and he's capable of stopping it, why isn't he doing that? So maybe he's not creating the evil, but he's allowing it to, you know, to propagate, let's say.
No, he does create what we consider evil. Right. But the question is it evil? Or where does evil stand? I guess this is pretty much what the question is. So it's a creation, right? Even a child dying or a body rotting, isn't it a creation? We can ask the same things that we have been discussing so far about how a plant comes out of a seed. You can apply the same thing as how does a living body rots? It's another creation, right? It's being created, and whomever is creating one must be creating the other. So creation is happening. But what is evil in there? Author was mentioning it's non-existence. Evil is non-existence. But its existence, no, the child is dying. No, the evil is existing. The evil is denying. You don't want to demonstrate mercy. You don't want to demonstrate wisdom. This is where evil is. So the problem with all these atrocities and whatnot, let's look at the basis of it, because author is using the word essentially. At its basis, it's non-existence. What does this mean? This is the part. And I think this is the part that we are missing. What is missing in there? Somebody is coming out and saying that, no, because in his speech, in the conscience that he gives me, in the message of the prophets that he sends, the creator of this universe says, you are not going to act unjust to this child. This is the command. The atrocity is to say that, no, I deny this message. This is the atrocity. Do we agree with this? I think this is the key point. If a person says no, how does it manifest itself? Pressing a button to send the bomb down. We consider atrocity as the child dying under the bomb. No, the atrocity happened when the bomb was pressed, sending the bomb, which actually internally was happening in terms of, I don't think there's a merciful creator. I am denying the merciful creator. This was the evil act. Everything else was a consequence that was created. The evil was the choice itself. The consequence that's being created is not evil. From the creation point of view, from the point of view of the guy who is pressing the bomb, it is evil because I really intended to destroy and I destroyed. It's purely evil from that perspective. It's perfectly dark. But if you look at it from the other perspective, why does Creator create this? Then we would say, how can I give an example for this? Like sometimes in movies, it happens that the guy does something bad and whatnot, like scheming to do all bad things and whatnot. By the time you come to the end of the movie, you realize that it perfectly worked in favor of the bigger plan. And then actually this guy's wrong choices and whatnot, and its outcomes really staged the message to come out or something. In this existence, even let's again look at some practical example of when a new baby is happening. Two cells come together, it multiplies, and at some point also some cells die. How do you call it in biology? Controlled reproduction and controlled cell death or something? Yeah, that thing over there. So cells are dying, right? It's not only that child is simply like this cell keeps multiplying and we get the baby. No, to have the shape of a nose or the shape of a hand and whatnot, cells are being multiplied and also cells are being destroyed. By the end, you come and see the baby, you say, oh, actually, those dying cells were useful. It was not evil. But if you were the child itself, or you say, oh, why are you killing those cells? You would say, oh, no, those cells were killed to make the child. So you do see that those death in there was beautiful. It was, this is why they say controlled cell death and controlled. So everything was controlled. When it comes to some atrocities that are happening in here, from the point of view of creation, I would like to underline this multiple times, which means whomever is creating the sun rising, the sun setting, the rain happening, is creating these children being killed today as well. From that point of view, I need to ask the question, then, okay, the perpetrator, evil from that lens, 100%, and I should be angry with this, 100%, but the creator keeps creating. That is merciful. The merciful creator creates this. How do you know? Everything else is merciful in this universe. This seems to be unmerciful. So then I would ask, where does mercy exist in here? So this is why, when we are asking the question in the sense of, if there exists a merciful God, sort of a language, we should say, who's there? How do you say that there's a merciful God? First, establish this, right? Because if you see a mom, your mom being super kind to you and whatnot, and at some point you are going to make a maybe a silly decision in your life, and she's getting angry with you. What would you say? Like, if my mom is merciful, she shouldn't behave me like this. You wouldn't say it like this, but you would rather say, from my past experience with my mom, I know that she's such a caring and nice and merciful person, but at this, she's just overreacting. Why? You will try to seek wisdom in this rather than trying to criticize her, right? Likewise, in the existence, at every moment in your life, personal experience, you realize that you're being mercifully maintained. Then you say, how about these babies? What is the message in there? That is the lens that are to be taken. So evil is happening in the choice, and choice in this case being simple denial, and it doesn't have any outcome. So it doesn't require effort, to be honest. This non-existence doesn't require effort. This is why it's easy to do it. This is why author keeps repeating that you need to seek refuge in God from such a thing, because its basis is non-existent. It's so easy to make. It's denial. You're not putting 1 + 1 into 2. You're not putting things on top of each other. You're just pushing them off. You're not building anything. You're just destroying. So that's why we need to seek refuge in God. But what does this practically mean? What does it mean to seek refuge in God? I need to go and ask my creator, then how do I behave? What's the truth behind this? Because this guy comes and says, if you take this, you're going to become eternal. If this is not the case, then what is the case? I need to ask and learn the proper answer, right? So this is why seeking refuge in God practically means go and ask to the source of this universe, this existence, to tell you the proper answer, the constructive answer. If this is the lie, then what's true? Another practical aspect, he says, your stronghold is the prophet's practices. This is not the practical aspect of it. In my life, then how do I behave? Okay, ideologically, this is how I'm going to, okay, I make sense, I understood. But how do I embody it in life? This is where now the prophetic example comes. If you would like to demonstrate a proper humanly stand in this life along these lines, then you will go with the prophetic example. This is how a proper human being would behave. Okay. Any comments, any questions? Sister Sarah, what do you think? Probably won't be able to convince, I mean, not yourself, but your atheist friend. What do you think? Like, my answer wouldn't convince anybody, would it? Is it?
A lot of the time people just ask, oh,
Microphone.
the kids are dying out there. It's so evil, and they are not like going back to the source of evil. Like, who's doing this? You know, we're not acknowledging that actually there is someone there taking the choice of throwing that bomb. So we're blaming God for, you know, something that is being done by someone else, doing it like willingly, with full conscience, with the full will to kill these people. So,
and in terms of why does God let part, what do you think?
Why does
God let them do so type aspect of it? Did our answer cover that part? What do you think?
I thought I did understand that. Why does God allow that to happen? Well, I thought,
or even
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
the answer of like, why does a merciful God allow that to happen? I think the idea of like, how do you know he's a merciful God? So first we have to establish, if you've established that it's a merciful God, then it will lead you to something, you know, it will lead us to to a different conclusion, I would say. Yeah.
Because all such questions are stemming from our position that, like, for example, for education, it has to be fun. And when a teacher asks a tough question in the exam, students start saying, oh, this was an evil test. It was so hard. And it's all because of you. Like in the review forms, they write you in capital letters. Just a few days ago, I received these terms reviews. a student has written a lengthy review and you was with uppercase letters. Like, you are evil because how dare you ask such a hard question? Like, this was student's attitude. Like, it has to be easy. Why are you doing this? Like, what sort of a teacher are you? Like, you're supposed to give it to me in a way that I can digest. And I decide what is digestible for me, not you, teacher. Like, this is the attitude. And then student blames the teacher. But what's the problem here? I mean, of course, we cannot blame our students because they are customers. But student has a mindset of what the school is for. I came here to learn, but also, college experience and fun is important part of college life. This is student's perspective. From teacher's perspective, I say, no, I'm preparing you for life. And part of life is academic education. Part of life is how do you deal with hard situations. So this is not unmerciful to ask you a hard assignment, actually. It's very proper. It's very merciful. If I were not to assign you this hard question, it would be unmerciful. I could have write the answers to the board and I will get 555 full, like best teacher award and whatever from students. Would I really be a best teacher? It would be super unmerciful, actually, to hand over the answers to my student. There's no mercy whatsoever in this. Although student feeling would say, oh, this is the nicest guy, right? When it comes to, oh, how does God let such and such, merciful God, let such and such things happen? We should say, what do you expect life? What do you expect from life? What's the point of life? Do you expect life to be all in like those red carpets and nice and beautiful? Is this really in alignment with purpose of existence? So this is why, rather than, I mean, of course, there are a lot of problems with the statement such as, if there was a merciful God, we shouldn't really unpack it, because first of all, the sentence shouldn't start with an if, like whether there exists, let's start from there. But then we should also question, what is the purpose of this life in the first place? Maybe that attitude actually is perfectly aligned with the purpose of this existence. It's the most merciful thing that could happen. And this is what actually the entire text that we are studying is about. Because the most fundamental question in here is, why does a thing like Satan exist in the first place? If there were no Satan, we would be happily chilling in the paradise, right? Like, why did this happen in the first place, God? Like, forget about sending bombs and whatnot. Just change the Satan thingy from the very first day, and we wouldn't need to worry about the kids dying in Gaza or anything of that sort, right? Adam will be in paradise. He will reproduce in paradise. We will all be in paradise. What's even better than that, right? This was the question 2 weeks before. What is merciful in the creation of Satan? This was the question, right? So we need to unpack these. And also, one last thing maybe, why does God let this happen? It's not let this happen. God does create it, because let happen means like he's just staying behind and letting it happen. No, he does create these bombs killing people. The act, all those particles turning around nucleus is the act of God. It's not that God set the machinery and now it's, no, he creates it. He creates those bombs piercing the bodies of children. This is an act of creator. But what is the message and wisdom in it from the point of view, as I consider it, relative to an all-wise creator? That is the message I will look for it. But when it comes to the guy who makes this choice, then this is pure evil, which doesn't require any creation. It's just a choice. Okay? So in this regard, I am responsible for my wrong choices, but my choices do not create anything. The creator creates it. And if I read it from the other side, somebody is feeling ill towards me. They are responsible for this. This is an evil act relative to them. But I also need to go back and ask my creator, oh, my creator, what's your message to me in the hands of this tyrant? This is what Prophet ﷺ did in Ta'if. When he went to Ta'if, he was stoned by the people of Ta'if. Go and read his supplication. The Prophet ﷺ has a supplication that's recorded, that's well narrated. from this event in Ta'if. Says, oh my creator, my only worry is if you're unhappy with me. Like he is reading the event as it's coming from the creator, not from the people of Ta'if. That is what pertains to me. Okay, I will fight with the person to take my right from that person. That's a separate issue. But at the end, I also need to ask, why did my creator create this event and put me in here? What is his message? So this distinction needs to be made. And this is what, like, all the thing behind this apparently theoretical explanation is that relevant take-home message for us. Otherwise, we are not making a theological debate of whether evil exists, does not exist. Like, what's its use? What's its relevance? It does have relevance in my life. Yes, you're responsible, but you do not create anything. Your choices is what you have, and those choices you're responsible from, but it does not create anything. But your creator creates outcomes of those choices. Likewise, others' choices apparently do have effect on you, but your creator is creating the effect, not those people. Okay? Yes, Brother Rahman.
I just wanted to make one addition. I think this, I mean, the Quran mentioned this many times. Like, there's, like, we're saying there's no evil, like actual evil out there, but at the same time, that doesn't mean there's no suffering or pain or, like, in the Quran. I was just looking at some of the verses at the start of Baqarah. I mean, it says very clearly, it explains, like, for the deaf, dumb, and blind, there's like painful punishment. Like, it's very clearly continually says there's hell, there's punishment, there's pain. So, I mean, we do experience that. Like, not just, let's say, after we die, the people go to hell, but also here, like, we do experience that pain. But then it says also for the believers, then it turns into a paradise. Like, it can turn into a paradise at least. So just because there's no like apparent evil, or our God created it, doesn't mean that I can't feel suffering because of the way I interpret it or read it, or the way I approach it because I'm deaf, dumb, and blind, or all these different things. But if somehow I'm able to find belief, read it in a different way with guidance, then, you know, even in the Quran it says, like, there is no doubt in this. Like, somehow if I can find that, then I can maybe see, oh, I thought there was suffering here, but actually it can turn into like a flowing river for me, and I can see how there's beauty in it. So yeah, there is suffering. Like, I do experience that suffering. It's very real. Like, I don't think Nursi is saying you don't suffer. You definitely are suffering because you choose to view it in like the lens of non-existence. But if you look at it through the light of belief, like, which is Quran's claim, then you see, okay, it was created by God, and therefore I can find meaning in it, or something beautiful in it for myself.
Yep, Jazakallah khairan. So, any concluding remarks? No. Okay, inshallah, we will continue with fifth indication next week. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة.